What's it like to be a female expat living in Asia? Is it possible to get part-time work even if my visa doesn't say that I can? And will I save money living in a cheaper place? Well, if those questions or anything about being a female expat are of interest to you, it's great to have you with me. My name is Wendy, and for more than 3 decades, I've lived and worked in 5 different countries in Asia, and I still live and work in Asia, now in Thailand. And today is a very blustery Sunday morning, and I wanted to talk to you about a conversation that I had yesterday with a group of my friends that struck me, even at the time and certainly later, as one of the most expatriate conversations I think I've ever had. And it brought up an interesting point about how people move in and out of your lives at different times of the year as an expat, and how that affects you sort of emotionally. So firstly, let me set it up for you. Yesterday, I caught up with 7 friends. We catch up regularly, we know each other well, and we come from different places, although mostly from the Commonwealth countries, I must say. And almost all of us have been long-term expats, to say that we've lived in and worked in, the Middle East and Asia and Europe and other places as well. So there's a Canadian lady, and she has worked in the Middle East and in Europe, very high executive jobs. She's now retired. She's similar age to me. And there's another one who is still working, and she travels a lot at the moment for her work, very, again, high-powered position. She's been an expat in Japan, in Europe, and in Thailand for a long time. There's another one who has been in an expatriate situation for decades and decades and decades, raised expat brats like me, who are now in 2 different continents, and that's really normal for expat kids. And so she's floating around all of the time between the UK and Australia and here. There's another one who's also just recently retired, lived in South America, Asia, lived and worked in South America, Asia, and Europe, now recently retired, and has a child who's living in the UK. And when I say child, I mean adult child here. So, and there's others who, have worked in China and Thailand and are now retired, and they've got one of my friends, she's got a son who now lives in China. So there's people in this group who are very, very familiar with the expatriate existence and have done it for a long time and understand how it works. And these friendship groups are actually super important for women who are expats. Now, if you're not a very social person, you think, oh, well, I can do without friends. Yeah, that's fine. But you do need some kind of support system somewhere, because you don't have family nearby. So that can, these people become your family. So let's talk about the conversation that we had. And to an outsider, what struck me is that outsiders might think that this sounds like some kind of humble bragging, or it all sounds terribly exotic, but it's actually not. And it actually has its own real stresses, these kinds of things, because we've been together for a while, sitting down, having a final chat, and just wanted to make sure, the timing for everybody. Now, it's mid-November, we're coming up to silly season. And so, so tell me again exactly when you're leaving, and tell me when we'll see you again. So this is the conversation, how it starts. And so we have one who, because of business commitments, has a ton of travel in between here and early December. So in the next 3 weeks, and has just come off a couple of weeks of travel as it is. So this is someone who now from Thailand will get back up to the Middle East, into Europe, back into the Middle East, another part of Asia, and then back here to Thailand, and then will turn around and fly to New Zealand, because they've got elderly parents, and the sister is there, and they need to get there and spend this Christmas with family, because the parents are getting older, and they need to do that. So okay, that's one. We've got another one, the Canadian. So she's been based here for a little while, normally doesn't do Christmases at home because her Canadian Christmas is fierce, under snow. She's got a sister who also is based in Asia, in another part of Asia, and they don't normally get home for Christmas, but they've decided, because they've got an elderly mother, that this is the year that they need to get back to Canada. So she's off to do the freezing Canadian winter. The one who's been in the Middle East a lot and Asia a lot and has kids in different places, they're heading off back to Australia to do the Christmas thing there. The other one who's recently retired, she's got a child who's living in the UK, adult child. So because she's recently retired, she's got a little bit more time on her hands. And so she's going to go up to the UK, and she's actually exporting her cats to go and live in the UK as well. So she's leaving really soon. She's leaving within the week. So it all sounds great, right? Wow, all this travel, that's fantastic, that's amazing. But in actual fact, I'm here to tell you that this type of thing is one of the stresses of being an expat, because you constantly feel that you have a foot in one camp and a foot in the other. Your time, particularly if you have family or commitments in another country, your time is constantly being pulled. And it doesn't matter whether you've got time on your hands or your time is limited, like us working girls, is that you're constantly conscious of the fact that there's a commitment somewhere else and there's a life that's happening somewhere else that needs you in it, or that you want to be part of. And if you don't maintain these connections with the other places, they can just dribble away and disappear, and you really feel discombobulated. Now, I've talked in other videos about, this sense of sometimes feeling disconnected, and that's a real thing. Now, luckily, everybody sitting there yesterday completely gets it, completely understands what's going on, because we've all got experience of it. We don't listen to conversations like that and think, wow, that's pretty amazing. Oh, you're heading off to Dubai for a day and a half and then you're off to somewhere else for this. Wow, that sounds exotic. We know that you're trying to pack for, this. You're trying to get carry-on luggage because you don't want to wait for the damn carousel, because you've done so many damn flights now. I travel everywhere with carry-on, and it doesn't matter where I go and how long I go for. I just take as little as I can, because I don't want to be waiting at the carousel and then your luggage hasn't appeared. Oh my God, I've traveled far too long to carry on with that. If I've lost my underwear, I'll just buy some new damn underwear where I am. That'll do. So it sounds great, and it is, don't get me wrong, it's a very privileged position to be in, but it also comes with a huge amount of movement requirements. If you've got a medical issue, then you have to think about that. If you've got pets, then you have to think about that. Who's going to mind your house or look after your house if you're away for 3 months? Who's going to make sure that the water doesn't get turned off? Or if it floods, it's rainy season here in Thailand, then who's going to take care of the house for you? So whilst it all sounds incredibly exotic and exciting, and it is, and I know that it sounds like I'm coming from an enormous place of privilege, I'm here to tell you that this, as a constant, it's sort of fun the first time, and then after about the 9th or 10th time of trying to battle that, or trying to work out who's going to be where and how you're going to get to see people and who you're going to miss out on seeing this time, and what if this thing happens, actually becomes just a logistical nightmare. And it was great to know that everybody's going to travel and they're going to see their family. That's really important. I'm lucky enough to have a little bit of family coming into town this year, and that's a real rarity, and I'm so delighted and excited. But the real existence for expat women, or expat guys too, when you've got commitments in many other places and it is that festive season and you're thinking to yourself, shit, how am I going to get through all of this? The cost, the time, the effort, all of that, and then you're going to miss out on seeing people, and then you say, why didn't you catch up with this? Or you're going to feel, that you go out in the UK and it's so damned expensive, and you just think to yourself, what am I spending all this money on? Something like that, right? There's always a downside to it, but it really, really struck me as one of the most expat conversations I've ever had, trying to understand everybody's movements for the next sort of 4, 5, 6 weeks until we can all meet again. And I'm not going to lie, another thing that sort of struck me is that I'm going to miss these people. These are my mates. This is my brain's trust. These are my people that I turn to when I say, I'm having a bad day, da 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 da. They go. And I know that they'll be back, but they go. And that's a real factor of an expatriate existence anyway. Anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you, apropos nothing. I hope you found it slightly entertaining or interesting, or perhaps you didn't at all, but that's okay. Hope you're having a great day. It's a wild and woolly one here on the coast. I'll just let you see. It's been a bit stormy of late, and it still remains a bit stormy, big floods in certain parts of Thailand. Hope you have yourself a wonderful day. And if you've got any comments, do leave them below. If you've got any questions you'd like me to answer, or something that you're curious about, leave that below as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Do share this with someone or one of the other videos with someone if you think they'll be interested. That really helps the algorithm and I really appreciate it. And I'll speak to you again soon. Bye.